2023 was probably the best year for Star Wars for me. I mean, we got Ahsoka, Mandalorian Season 3, we got Star Wars Vision Season 2, and there was so much happening on this channel. In fact, it was the best growth that I've ever seen for my channel, and a lot of that growth came from videos that weren't even reaction videos. And reaction videos usually give me the most amount of the exposure. But this year, I wanted to go over 2024 and what we should expect for everything Star Wars. I think everybody is eagerly awaiting The Acolyte, but I'm really confused on when these shows are ever going to release. Last year we had so much with the actors and writer strike, and I feel like a lot of the live action series and animation series might get pushed back a little bit more. I'm not sure how many delays that we're going to see, but I do believe The Acolyte isn't going to come out as early as everybody's expecting. I think we're all hoping for maybe February, but I could even see it in March or maybe even April. And since there's only one other live action series that I expect to release in 2024, I think Star Wars is definitely going to push back The Acolyte just a few months. But The Acolyte seems fantastic. This is going to be the first live action anything that is before The Phantom Menace. We even have characters from the High Republic that Star Wars and Lucasfilm have been investing so much into. So I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with this era. And a lot of us that are Legends fans, we know about Darth Plagueis, Master Tenebrous, and so many other Sith Lords from this era. The fact that it's focusing on the Sith is probably the most compelling thing about this thing, and I'm definitely interested to see where they go. Are they going to name drop Bane? Are they going to name drop Revan? I feel like we need to get so many Easter eggs from the Old Republic in this show. And if we don't, oh man, I'm going to be a little disappointed. But we'll see what happens, and I'm very excited. After that, we have the Skeleton Crew. And I really don't know anything about this show outside the fact that it's basically going to be Goonies of Star Wars. A whole bunch of kids lost trying to find their way back home in the vast galaxy of Star Wars. That's pretty awesome. But I don't know what else is happening in this show, and I feel like it's really not going to come out until much later in 2024. Probably even November or December that we're going to see around that holiday time. And that makes sense because we haven't even got an official trailer of The Acolyte yet, and I don't think we're going to get an official trailer of Skeleton Crew anytime soon, maybe even after summer. And then, of course, like I said earlier with the strikes, I don't expect anything from Andor Season 2 or Mandalorian Season 4 happening this year. Maybe we'll get some mentions of that later, but I don't think we're going to see any of those shows till 2025. And that's basically it. There isn't any whispers of anything live action outside of that happening this year. I know we have a movie that we're going to be expecting in a couple of years, but I mean, what about Ahsoka Season 2? I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's on the shelf that we haven't heard of yet. Maybe we'll get something later, but I just feel like with all the work that has been going on and the strikes, I'm not sure if we're going to hear any of that information until 2025. So that brings me to the animated series. We know about Bad Batch Season 2 and Tales of the Jedi, and of course, the Young Jedi Adventures. But outside of that, I don't think we have any other announcements. Bad Batch Season 2 makes me feel like it's going to come out later this year. I mean, they may even postpone that, but I can easily see Tales of the Jedi releasing 2025 rather than Bad Batch. I think we're going to see Bad Batch probably release around the summer, because when you think about all the Star Wars content, I think it's going to be spread out. Acolyte at the beginning, Bad Batch in the middle, and then Skeleton Crew at the very end. I want to see more of Crosshair. I just want to see what's going to happen and what the hell is going on with Tech Man. Oh my god, that episode was so hard for me. But outside of that, I'm eagerly awaiting the release of Tales of the Jedi, and I want to see more episodes that have longer durations. I'm not really about the short stuff. We've seen a lot of that with Star Wars Visions, and I just feel like a lot of fans can't really get in or invest in these characters when there's only 11 minutes or 15 minutes of a show. What about 40 minutes? What about 30 minutes? You see with Marvel What If, they have very long episodes compared to Star Wars Visions, and maybe even Bad Batch or Clone Wars. I would love to see a lot of that animation and that duration get put and implemented into Star Wars moving forward, especially with animation. But outside of that, I don't see much of anything. I really want a series on the Old Republic, or maybe even the High Republic. I want other eras of Star Wars that we haven't seen yet in animation. But the most important one I think everybody's excited for is Star Wars Outlaws, another banger single-player game. And I can't wait for this one, and I feel like it's going to be released sometime in February, maybe April, which is going to be fantastic for a lot of us that are just itching for the next Star Wars adventure in video games since Jedi Survivor. And I do want to see some type of announcement, a multiplayer Star Wars game. And I know that there's a lot of IPs that are in the work right now for Star Wars, but we haven't heard much of them except that they exist. I feel like Star Wars multiplayer is non-existent in this era of Star Wars, and that's an area that I feel like we need to improve on in Star Wars. Everything else is fine, but where is my multiplayer Star Wars game? I'm ready for Star Wars Outlaws. Star Wars Hunters is somewhere out there. It exists, I guess. But outside of that, I'm super focused on Outlaws and I can't wait. Now all I can think about is the books and the comics. And there's a couple books that I'm really eager for. High Republic is on its roll. It's going to be ending soon, and I'm very interested to see what the next iteration of. I think we have a couple books in February. There's one in January. I think there's one in March. And I think September. So High Republic is always on its way. Outside of that, we have a freaking Mace Windu book that's going to be coming out in August. It's already too far away, but I'm totally excited about it. And its title is pretty awesome because it's the Glass Abyss, and it reminds me of Mace Windu's ability, the Shatterpoint. And I think we're even getting a Jedi Council book that actually goes and talks about every single member of the Jedi Council during the era of the prequel trilogy. I've only heard mentions of this, but I can't wait to see more. There's a couple comics I think that have to do with some of the characters, like maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi or Mace Windu. I think there's a Jango Fett one coming out as well. But outside of that, I haven't heard any new releases or new stories being developed. And I feel like that's where a lot of the expanded universe is suffering from, is comics. Again, you can do that with the animation. Give me Old Republic. Give me some of the sequel trilogy. Give me some of the Mandoverse. I know that we have the reprints of these Mandalorian comics, and I just want to see something original, something that isn't a frame-by-frame depiction of what we got in live action, you know? I think that's where Legends continuity really had its strength. There was something for every part of the timeline in Star Wars, and I think this new generation of Star Wars fans haven't really seen that. A lot of what we get is only helping, enhancing the story that came before. Let's see some more original stuff like the High Republic. Get me into the Old Republic. Get me into the sequel trilogy. Give me more stories, because that's all I want. But for the channel itself, man, I got so much planned, and I can't wait for you to see it. Let me know what you are most excited about for 2024 in Star Wars. I can't wait to see the Acolyte. I can't wait to see Skeleton Crew, and I can't wait to react to everything for all you guys. Make sure you subscribe, please fam, and I'll see you around. Deuces.